Hello, welcome to the European Open briefing for Monday, September 25th. I'm Rafi Boyajan, currency analyst at XM.com, and we're going to be taking a look at what's happening in the currency markets today. So the elections in Germany and New Zealand have created a bit of uncertainty in currency markets this morning. The euro is slightly down after Angela Merkel didn't manage to win as many votes as had been expected, and the far right party made progress, managing to win seats in parliament for the first time. And the dollar is benefiting from the euro weakness as well as from yen weakness. There's also speculation that the Japanese Prime Minister might call snap elections. The pound has managed to recover most of its losses from Friday's Brexit speech by Theresa May, which didn't provide as much clarity as had been hoped, while in New Zealand the kiwi is down sharply after the election results there proved inconclusive, although the National Party won the most seats. The Labour Party might still manage to form a government depending on which way the third largest party will decide to go in terms of forming a coalition. And in commodities, oil prices are holding near multi-month highs from Friday following the OPEC meeting last week. But let's start first with the euro. We can see the euro is sharply down against both the dollar and the pound. The election results on Sunday gave Angela Merkel her fourth term as Germany's chancellor as expected, but her party won its lowest share of the votes since the end of the Second World War, and also the AfD, the far-right AfD party, managed to win seats in parliament for the very first time, and this will make it difficult for Merkel to form a coalition. The second largest party, the Socialist SPD, now say they will pull out of the current coalition, meaning that Merkel will need to form a three-way coalition with other two smaller parties in order to form a government, and that could take weeks, adding to the uncertainty, and also the fact that Merkel will have to potentially make compromises. This might make it more difficult for France and Germany to press ahead with EU reforms and specifically further EU integration, given the opposition now in the country to, say, open border policy and so on. There might be some shift away from politics to monetary policy later today when ECB President Mario Draghi speaks in the European Parliament later in the day. But for now, we can see the euro is struggling at just above the 1.19 level against the dollar, while it's dropped below the key 0.88 level against sterling. Moving on to the dollar, we can see the dollar has been firming since late Friday, early this morning, although there is continuation of insults being traded between President Trump and his North Korean counterparts. Overall, the uncertainty has eased somewhat. The U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said that the president doesn't want to be in a nuclear war and that they will do everything they can to make sure that that doesn't occur. So there is that has helped a little bit, but mostly it's the fact that other currencies are weaker is what's helping the dollar. The focus this week will be, although there's quite a bit of data as well out of the US, there's also going to be quite a few Fed speakers. Starting today, we've got New York Fed President William Dudley and Chicago Fed President Charles Evans speaking later in the day. On Friday, we had Dallas Fed President Robert Kaplan saying that he was open-minded to one more rate hike this year. So we'll see whether or not more FOMC members will support another rate hike by December. For now, we can see dollar yen is comfortably above the 112 level, and the dollar index is trading around 92.30. Let's move on to Japan now, because Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is expected to hold a press conference later today at 0900 GMT. He is likely to call a snap election for October the 22nd. He wants to take advantage of the fact that his Liberal Democratic Party are doing rather well in the polls. There was they did have a setback early in the year where a scandal led to a drop in their ratings, but they seem to have bounced back. Plus, the main opposition are doing even worse. So the yen is down on this slight uncertainty about the snap election being called, but also on the prospect of an even more prolonged period of loose fiscal and monetary policy. Although the government doesn't control the Bank of Japan, Abe will likely appoint he will likely reappoint Kuroda as Bank of Japan governor, whose term ends, whose term will be ending soon. Or even if he doesn't reappoint Kuroda, he will probably reappoint another dovish governor. So that will likely weigh on the yen. And ahead of that expected snap election announcement, Abe announced early today an economic stimulus package, ordering his cabinet to prepare a fresh package to focus on education, childcare, and corporate investment. So all of that is seen as negative for the yen, as it means looser policy for a while yet. Let's move on to the New Zealand dollar, because we did have an election there on Saturday. The National Party did win the most seats, but the opposition Labour leader Jacinda Ardern isn't conceding defeat just yet, because the third largest party, the New Zealand First Party, hold the key in terms of who they will select to form a coalition. So it's still possible that the Labour Party could end up being in government. So that's hurting the kiwi. It's down. It was down around 1% early in the day. It's bounced back a little bit to stand just 0.8% lower against the US dollar. It did hit a 1-week low of 0.7250. And we also have Reserve Bank of New Zealand policy meeting on Thursday, though they're likely not to announce any changes and maintain their neutral bias. So the focus will be now on those. So first we have to wait for the final vote count, so that could not be ready till early October, and we'll have to wait and see with who the New Zealand First Party will form a coalition there. Quick look at sterling, because on Friday we saw a drop in sterling after that much-awaited speech by Theresa May failed to provide as much clarity as had been hoped, although she did say that the UK does want a 2-year transition period, and reassured her European counterparts that the UK will meet all its financial obligations. The EU's chief negotiator Michel Barnier did say that her speech was constructive. We've got the 4th round of talks starting today, so we'll have to wait and see whether Britain and the EU will manage to make a speedier progress in those talks. In the meantime, Moody's has downgraded the UK's credit rating due to the possible negative impact from Brexit on economic growth and on public finances. And also that speech on Friday has done little to end speculation about May's future as Prime Minister of the UK. But for now, sterling isn't doing too bad. It's managed to recoup most of Friday's losses. It's currently trading around 1.3550 against the US dollar. Before we go, let's look at oil prices, because that OPEC meeting on Friday, OPEC plus other major producers, they were pleased that the current agreement is helping to clear up the supply glut. So that did provide support for oil prices, as well as data from the US that showed that the number of active oil rigs in the US fell for a 3rd consecutive week. But that meeting by OPEC didn't provide the results as some had been speculating. There were some rumors that they could be agreeing on extension to the output deal, though given that it expires in March 2018, there's still some way to go there, and the Russian minister said that a decision is unlikely before January 2018. Other countries' ministers were a bit more optimistic, saying that the decision could be reached before the year end. But for now, oil prices aren't doing too badly. They are down slightly from Friday's highs, though holding near those multi-month highs. WTI crude hit a 4-month high last week, and Brent crude hit a near 7-month high. Today's economic calendar is going to be very quiet. We had Japanese manufacturing PMI. We saw a bit of an improvement in September. The main data out of the European session will be German IFO. The business climate is expected to edge up slightly. And we've got speakers from the New York Fed president, the Chicago Fed president, and of course Mario Draghi. He'll be testifying before the European Parliament at 13 hours GMT. That's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.